Hello everyone and welcome to the postingUp YouTube channel, your home for all things football. If you like this video, please consider hitting the like button, and if you'd like to see more of this type of content, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you in advance, and let's get on to the video. On Friday night, Leicester City shocked us all, smashing Southampton 9-0 away from home. It equalled the Premier League record for largest winning margin. It also broke the record for largest away victory. This got us thinking about where this match placed among the largest footballing triumphs in history. Our research has shown that Leicester's stunning victory barely breaks the top 100. So here are the top 10 largest victories in football history. Number 10. Iran 19, Guam 0. Back in November 2000, in the Asian section of the 2002 World Cup qualifying, Iran hammered the American territory of Guam 19-0. Guam were drawn to the group with Iran and Tajikistan. While the 19-0 paddling handed to them by Iran was enough to make it into our top 10, the game against Tajikistan was also very close. Guam lost that game 16-0, giving them a goal difference in their group of -35. Iran eventually went on to qualify for an intercontinental playoff for the World Cup, where they were eventually beaten 2-1 by a very strong Republic of Ireland side, who were a right keen tantrum away from a World Cup quarter-final. On form for Iran on the day was legend Karim Bagheri, who scored a double hat-trick on the day. Iran had a total of 4 hat-trick scorers in the game. The result hardly comes as much of a surprise, though, seeing as Guam are an amateur side who have. Number 9. Kuwait 20, Bhutan 0. This matchup took place in the same year, the year 2000. It took place in February in qualifying for the 2000 Asia Cup. Kuwait finished top of their qualifying group and went on to reach the quarter-finals of the tournament, where they were beaten 3-2 in extra time by Saudi Arabia. Bhutan unsurprisingly finished bottom of their qualifying group with a goal difference of -42 from 4 games. Kuwait star striker Bashar Abdullah scored 7 goals in this match. Abdullah is a legend in Kuwaiti football, having scored 75 international goals in 134 caps. This game did a great job at padding out Abdullah's goal tally. Jassim Al-Hawadi scored another 5 in this game. The score at half-time was 9-0, so it must have been a great half-time team talk from the Kuwait manager to urge his players to go on and score another 11. Number 8. Australia 22, Tonga 0. Yeah, that's it. The first of 2 appearances on this list by Australia. This game took place in the Oceanic section of the 2002 World Cup qualifying. The Aussies must have thought it was a rugby result they were seeing on their televisions, until highlights showed that the ball was round and the goal had nets. On the day, former Osasuna, Portsmouth and Coventry striker John Alosi scored 6. Wolves midfielder and Millwall legend Kevin Muscat also scored 5, which resulted in being half of his international goal tally. The score at half-time was 10-0. At the time, this was the largest ever victory in the World Cup qualifying, beating Iran's 19-0 win over Guam. Number 7. Preston North End 26, Hyde United 0. This match was contested in the 1887 FA Cup. This match was played in the oldest continually used football ground, Deepdale. This match took place on the 15th of October 1887. At the time, association football was still starting to find its feet, and with such a young sport, absurd scorelines were bound to show up. Preston celebrate their 140th birthday next year, and the rich history of the club has seen them lift the FA Cup twice, as well as the English top division twice. 3 of those 4 trophies, however, came before the turn of the 20th century. This was the 20th edition of the FA Cup, and Preston would eventually go on to lose the final to West Brom, before going one step further the following year and winning the tournament. Due to fixture congestion, high-flying Preston had requested that the match be rescheduled to midweek, but the Cheshire side declined. Out of spite, Preston fielded their strongest possible 11 to teach Hyde a lesson. Inside right forward Jimmy Ross scored 7 on the day, which is believed to be the FA Cup's first double hat-trick. Ross went on to score 19 in the FA Cup that year, a record which stands to this day. This Preston side defined Victorian football, being one of only 2 teams in English football history to record an invincible season. Number 6. Villarreal 27, Nevada 0. Ernesto Valverde, the current Barcelona coach, is constantly being pressured by the Barcelona fans to play a more exciting brand of football. If only the man could channel his Villarreal side's style in their 27-0 victory over Nevada in 2009. Unlike other games on this list, this match was a friendly. However, 27-0 games are so rare that this one cracks the all-time top 10. Valverde played a different 11 in each half, however each were as clinical as the other, as the Yellow Submarines romped home 27 goals superior. The highest scorer on the day was Jonathan Pereira, who scored 7. The late Robert Pires was also on the score sheet on the day. Number 5. Tahiti 30, Cook Islands 0. On the 2nd of September 1971, Tahiti hammered Cook Islands 30-0 in the group stages of the South Pacific Games. The Cook Islands are a series of 15 islands scattered across the South Pacific. This was their first ever international game, and it is to this day their heaviest defeat. The Cook Islands lost the second game in their group 16-1 to Papua New Guinea. They also lost the 5th place playoff 15-1 to Fiji. Tahiti lost in the semi-finals to New Hebrides and came third, beating Papua New Guinea 8-1 in the 3rd place playoff. Tahiti miraculously won the 2012 Oceanic Nations Cup, which saw them qualify for the 2013 Confederations Cup, where they suffered a humiliating 10-0 defeat to Spain. Number 4. Australia 31, American Samoa 0. Yeah, it's another rugby score for the Australians. This match broke a record for a win in the World Cup qualifying, but what is most astonishing about the scoreline is that it occurred just weeks after they set the record with a 22-0 win over Tonga. Australia never qualified for the 2002 World Cup, having lost 3-1 to Uruguay in an intercontinental playoff. However, they finished their group with a goal difference of plus 66 after just 4 games. Archie Thompson scored an amazing 13 goals in this game. The 13 goals Archie Thompson scored set a record for goals scored in a single international game, a record which stands to this day. The score at half-time was 16-0, putting into context the feat achieved by Leicester City on Friday. The Aussies scored another 15 in the second half. Scorelines like these eventually led the Australian national team to join the Asian Federation to improve competitiveness. The Oceanic Association also now includes preliminary rounds to exclude weaker opponents. Number 3. Dundee Harps 35, Aberdeen Rovers 0. This game took place in the 1885 Scottish Cup. 2 games from this year's tournament are included on this top 10 list, this match being the lower scoring of the two. So while this game saw 35 goals, making it the 3rd highest scoring game of all time, it is still not the highest scoring game in this tournament. Dundee Harps no longer exist, having folded in 1897. Not only was this not the highest scoring game ever, it wasn't even the highest scoring game in Scotland on that day. There is still some dispute about the scoreline, as the referee recorded 37-0, but both the club and the secretaries and the official match report stated that 35-0 was the official scoreline. Number 2. Arbroath 36, Bonaccord 0. This match is officially recognised by Guinness as the highest scoring senior football match of all time. This match took place on the very same day in the very same tournament as the previous game, the 12th of September 1885. It is reported that Bonaccord showed up without a football kit, a sign of what was to come. The side were 15-0 down at half-time, and Arbroath went on to score another 21 in the second half. The scoreline of 36-0 is considered the record for a senior football match. The referee also chalked off 7 Arbroath goals for offside, but after the game confirmed he would have counted the goals had the game been more competitive, giving a potential scoreline of 43-0. 18-year-old John Petrie was the highest scorer on the day, nabbing 13, making him and the Australian Archie Thompson the only players to have scored quadruple hat-tricks. The eventual winner of that year's Scottish Cup were Queen's Park. Neither side made it past the 4th round. Number 1. Ayas Adema 149, Esso Liarina 0. This is the highest scoring game of all time, however it is not recognised as such as the game was thrown. All 149 goals were own goals, scored by SOE players in protest over refereeing decisions made in their previous match, which saw them knocked out of the title race. AS Adema went on to win the Madagascar League that year, and many of the SOE players were disqualified from further competition. Thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed this top 10. Subscribe for more top 10s and more footballing content on the postingUp channel.